what kind of account should I open for my kid to start saving for their college or just to start saving money for them? I think that's a new question that comes up right in a parent's mind, right when they have their first child or any child after that, is how do I set this child up for success? And it's a question that I talked with a friend recently about that I thought would be good for the podcast. So I wanted to go through kind of the few accounts that are out there, some of the considerations between them, and how I would probably frame using them going forward. So broadly, the account options that we have for a child are a 529 account. So that's an education savings account. Most people are familiar with that. It's tax protected and tax free when taken out. If used on education, it grows tax free. A lot of times folks don't want to lock up money into those, so they look to other more flexible vehicles beyond that. So you have the 529 account, you have the UTMA account, which stands for Uniform Transfers to Minors Act. So this is an account that is owned by the parent, but it is in the kid's name. So the parent is still the rightful custodian of that account, but that child, it is their money. So when we put money into that account, it becomes the child's money. So we lose some control over that, but we also now get some advantages. Now it's in the child's name. The dividends are taxed at a lower rate at the child's rate up to a certain amount. There's some advantages to those accounts. Then we just have taxable brokerage accounts. That's the third one that we can just use in the parent's name. And, the fourth prong is someday maybe we can open this child up a Roth IRA once they start making some money. They start working chores around the house, they mow lawns. That's kind of that fourth one that isn't applicable right away, but will be maybe applicable later. So how do we think about allocating money to these accounts? Which one do we want to choose? Well, I think, in 2024 today, we need to think about college for sure. And the 529 account, we don't have to put everything in there, but I think it is a little bit of a risk-free option at this point, the way the laws are set up. We can roll that to a Roth IRA once the account's been open for 15 years. So we can roll up to $35,000 in 2024 to a Roth IRA. So we have that option down the road. If the child gets a scholarship, we can take the money out up to the value of the scholarship and not pay any penalties on that. We would pay taxes on it, just like it was a taxable brokerage account. But we have to remember that grew tax-free for 18 years or however long we had that account open. So it's still going to beat the brokerage account in terms of its growth and its value at the end of those 18 years. We're going to put money away for college if that's the goal, if we think our child's going to go to college. Even at the worst, if we put money into a 529, child doesn't go to college, child does not get a scholarship, we can still take the money out, pay the tax, and pay a 10% penalty. We're still going to be, depending on returns, depending on the situation, we could still potentially be in a better spot than the taxable brokerage account. It is potential. It isn't the craziest thing to say that. So I guess what I'm saying is I think using a 529 in some capacity probably makes sense. We can also, depending on what state you're in, if you use your state plan, we can get an in-state tax deduction on our state taxes for contributions to that plan. Some states have $5,000 or $10,000 deductions per beneficiary per year for contributions made to those plans. So I make the argument for 529s. I think in general, they're probably a good thing to start. Do we need to put all of our money into them? Not necessarily. I think that's where the taxable brokerage account really comes into play as that next prong where we can kind of dump money. We could name the account in Vanguard or wherever we're having our accounts for the child, but it is under our name. And I think that's the best way to do it, in my opinion. I don't think the UTMA account is worth it. I think it provides minimal benefit on maybe lower tax on some dividends up to a certain amount. But when you look at it over a long period of time, this taxable brokerage account is going to be the most flexible. We can give that to the kid later. We can give it to the Roth IRA when they start mowing lawns and making money, in their teens. We can just save money in the taxable brokerage account and use it for college someday. If we don't want to use the 529 at all for whatever reason, I've definitely seen clients that don't want the 529 at all. They just want to use everything in a taxable brokerage. I think that's okay too. So kind of layering these together, that 529 being, let's get some in-state tax deduction. Let's maybe get some money that's going to grow tax-free and be taking out and use tax-free on education someday. But then let's really layer in that taxable brokerage account as that ultimate flexibility. We can give it to the kid later on. We can, if the kid doesn't go to college, we can just give it to him, or we can use it for ourselves, right? It's in our name still. And I think one thing between the UTMA and the taxable brokerage account that we need to consider as well is when we come to college aid and your expected family contribution, EFC. So if it's an UTMA account that's under the child's name, 20% of that account is used towards the expected family contribution calculations for college aid. When they look at your assets and your income and decide how much aid you're going to get, if any. If that same money is in the parent's brokerage account, 5.64% of the value of that account is used for college aid calculations. So you can see much more of it is used in that calculation that they expect you to use on college, which means you're going to get a lower aid amount if the money is in the child's name comparatively to if the money is in the parent's name. So that's another reason that I would lean towards that taxable brokerage account over the UTMA. So the last point I want to add, just to double tap on the Roth IRA, something we can't open for a newborn unless they're doing baby modeling, right? You know, in their first 6 months of life, maybe there's a use case for that. But for most kids, we need to wait until they're starting to earn income. We can only contribute up to that earned income amount in a year. That's going to be when they start doing chores. Maybe they start working in your business is a really good way to do that. Maybe they start mowing lawns. Maybe they start doing things around the neighborhood. When they start doing that, I think pouring money into that Roth IRA for them is a really good strategy. It's pretty crazy when you look at the compounding of 50 years. If you start contributing to a 15-year-old's Roth IRA, 50 years of compounding, it sets them up pretty well in retirement. So that would be the last one that I think we'd want to layer in as the child gets older. But I think to wrap it up, we want to think about, okay, is that child going to go to college reasonably? Do we think that's going to happen? If so, a 529 is usually going to make sense to some level. Beyond that, I think we start layering in the taxable brokerage account if we want to start saving for this child. It just gives us so much flexibility later on to use it for college, give it to them, put it in the Roth IRA. And then eventually we do want to open up that Roth IRA as they get older, start earning money. So I hope that this was a helpful framework to think about what accounts to start using for your newborn or your child when you're trying to start saving money for them, doing the right things, setting them up for success in the future. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next week. Thanks. Thank you for joining us today. Do you want the exact financial planning framework that I use with clients? Go visit baskinfp.com where you can grab a free download of the ultimate military and veteran financial checklist to give you the bluff on what you need to be doing to manage your finances. We'll be back next week with some more content to help you on your journey to financial freedom. See you then. This is a friendly reminder that the Bluff Finance Podcast is general and educational in nature and does not constitute tax, investment, legal, or financial advice with respect to any particular individual or taxpayer. Please consult with your own tax, legal, financial, and other advisors regarding your own unique situation.